So as you can see next to me here, these are our onions, and unfortunately the vast majority of them have now gone to seed, and we think that's because when we first planted them in January it was quite dry, and then we had a period where it rained an awful lot, and then early spring it was again incredibly dry. Cockerel agrees. And then it went really wet again, and then now for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks or so, it's been incredibly hot and dry again. He agrees again. And so basically they've just gone into shock and they've gone to seed. They don't really know what's going on with them. We don't really know what's going on either. So any onions that have gone to seed like these have, this is what I mean, these flower heads that are on top of them, that's what I mean by gone to seed. They won't store very well in cold storage. They just will rot really quickly. So I don't want to waste them, and for the amount that we've got, I'm not going to be able to use them very quickly either. So my plan is that I'm going to have a go at making some caramelized onions, which is good for putting on things like cheese and pickle, or on cheese and crackers, or on things like burgers. And you can use them as bases in things like French soup and that kind of thing as well, apparently, caramelised onions. And I'm also going to have a go at dehydrating some onions, and then I can powder it, and then I can store it in jars and use it as and when I need it, as opposed to using fresh onions. Should be equally as good, might as well. The other thing about when they go to seed is that the actual core of the onion's quite hard and quite tough and non-usable. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, them cockerels that you can hear crowing, they're getting, what is it that Adam says? They're going to graduate to freezer camp tomorrow. And the plan is that we're actually going to, for the first time, partition them into breasts, wings and legs and store them like that in the freezer. Whereas previously, last year, all of them were stored as whole chickens. Which means that we're going to be left with, I'm not sure how many's in there, 9 I think, with 9 carcasses. So my plan is to boil them all up, all at the same time, to make chicken soup and to make chicken stock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the hard centres of these onions in that pot at the same time, so absolutely nothing is going to go to waste. So yeah, I'm going to attempt to harvest some of these onions now. I'm going to say attempt because the ground's incredibly hard. So hard, in fact, that I broke a fork yesterday. I just completely snapped the wooden handle. So, yeah, wish me luck. This one, I'm not sure that you can quite see, doesn't have a flower on top. So I'm going to leave it in the ground a little bit. I'm only going to take the ones that have actually gone to seed and that do have big flowers on them. There are a couple that haven't, thankfully, so I'm going to save them, and they're the ones that I'm going to dry out and store as you would a normal onion. All of these tops, they're just going to go into the compost. They're healthy. If they'd gone slightly brown, then I perhaps wouldn't put them in, because that can be a sign of them being poorly, of them having some sort of disease. And if you put diseased onions or diseased onion greens into your compost, it can make your compost diseased for the following year. So we don't want that. So I'm going to be very careful. The only ones that look really healthy, they're the only ones that are going to go into my compost. Yeah, it's a shame because some of them have barely even got any bulb to them. I don't even know how much of that's actually going to be edible, but now that it's gone like this, it just isn't going to grow anymore either, so it's a shame. Yeah, absolutely nothing to that one. Pointless. Whereas other ones, again, gone to seed, perfectly usable onion bulb. I think that the key is that we need to sort out some sort of watering system for these for next year. Some people do use the insides of this as like a chive, but I'm not going to. Say hi. Hi. So that was a practically impossible task with the ground so hard. But this pile here is mostly ones that have gone to seed that are no good for nothing. Look at that. Rubbish. This box here are ones that are good. So these are the ones that are good that haven't gone to seed, so that they will preserve. Ignore them, they're from a different box. So these are mostly quite good. I mean, they're a bit of a weird shape. Hang on. Here you go, it's better. They're a bit of a weird shape, and that's where I think where the ground's been so hard, they've not been able to expand properly. And then in this box here, I've got ones that have gone to seed that are probably okay. I mean, that one does actually feel a bit hard, but I mean, like this one's gone to seed, but it feels fine. It just, again, is a bit of a weird shape. And then these are all ones, again, that are completely useless and they'll just go in the compost bin. And then I've got a really weird pile of ones that have not grown at all. I mean, look at that. That's rubbish. I couldn't have left it in any longer because it's gone over. I mean, some of them don't even look like they've grown since they went in the ground. Obviously, other than the fact that they have grown, just not the actual onion itself. So it's a bit of a shame. We've not got as many as we thought we would, but some to be getting on with. Just got to get them dried now. Please excuse the fact that I look an absolute mess. It's very warm and nasty out there, so I've come inside because I've harvested quite a few different things, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do and then get on with it. Here we go. So this is parsley leaves and basil leaves, which I'm going to clean up and process, and then I'm going to dehydrate them for long storage. These are some scarlet runner beans. I'm not going to do anything with them just now, but probably eat them over the next couple of days. A whole basket of tomatoes, which is brilliant. Still got plenty that are ready to turn. Some of these that you can see, they're not quite ready to use, but I'm going to stick them in the window. I wanted to keep the tomato plants, keep them encouraging to put out some more. Don't ask me what happened to this fella. And then I might have 100 or 200 cucumbers, and they're all a brilliant size. Starting to turn a bit yellow. Any that have gone completely over, we're feeding them to the pigs and to the chickens and the hens. But I'm going to have a go at making some relishes, and I might have a go at making some pickles. So yeah, I'm going to give them a go now, and I will show you how I get on. So these are the tomatoes that I've picked out that are the most ripe and the most red and the most juicy. These ones are either cherry tomatoes, we're going to in salads, or they're just not quite squidgy enough to go in a sauce yet. So these need to go into the window for a couple of days before they're ready. But I'm not actually fussy about what kind of tomatoes I use for sauce, really. I do prefer to use the ones like the gigantes and the corazon, but none of them have turned red yet. And these tomatoes, they might not be quite so juicy or meaty inside, and they've perhaps got a few more too many seeds really to make like a traditional sauce. But we're not fussy. I think that they've all got their own different tastes. So they all do a good enough job. So just going to crack on with it now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the tops and the middle bit, and then any bottoms that are a bit not very appealing, I'll chop all of them bits off. They'll all go into the compost, and then I'm going to quarter them, put them on the roasting tray, and I'm going to roast them at 225 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes, and that just brings out the flavour in them. So my tomatoes are roasted. You can see there's a bit of liquid that's come off. So I will pour that away because we don't want that going in the actual sauce. We don't want it to be too watery. I've got 7 jars in this big saucepan. I'm going to water bathe these to seal them. So these jars, I've washed them all and they're in there. And once the water's boiling for about 10 minutes, they'll be fully sterilised. And then the lids, they're in this bowl of boiling water as well, and they're also sterilising. So here's my tomatoes all whizzed up. I'm putting it on the hob, not because it needs thickening up. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but that's actually quite thick. That was the point in roasting it. I'm heating it up so that when it goes into the hot jars in the hot canner, we don't have some sort of glass explosion. But I just wanted to also point out that the skins and the seeds all went into this as well. Some people take the seeds out, some people take the skins off, but I kind of feel like there's nutrients in all of that. So everything just all goes in together for me. So yeah, I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes warming this through so it's nice and hot, and then we'll get them in the jars. So here's my 7 jars all boiled. I actually think I need 5. I think there's only about 2 litres of tomatoes. I'm going to try something I've never tried before. I've got fresh basil leaves still in the garden. I've got flipping hundreds of them. So I'm going to put a couple of basil leaves and a couple of garlic cloves in each jar. Never done that before, but I've read about it in canning groups about how popular it is. This is my funnel to get it all in without losing any of the liquid. I'm going to use a ladle for spooning it in. This is a tool so that I can hold the jar without burning my fingers when putting the lids on. This is a magnet for lifting my lids out of the boiling hot water. Normally works better than that. I need to leave an inch of jar space the top of the jar. So this is a doody little measuring tool for that. And then this is my can lifter. And you open it at the top here. This is quite difficult to do while looking through the lens. That's how I'm going to lift it in and out of the canner. So I think I am ready to go. So as I thought, there's 5 in there. 2 things that I forgot to mention actually. Firstly is there's a cloth in the bottom there. That's so that the heat of the flame at the bottom doesn't crack the bottom of the jars and to stop them from rattling around too much. So yeah, I forgot to mention that. And the second thing that I forgot to mention is that I've used some apple cider vinegar just to clean around the edges of the jars where the lid makes contact basically, so as we get a nice clean seal. So I'm gonna get the water back up to boiling and leave it there for 40 minutes. So whilst that's in there, I'm gonna have a go at making a cucumber relish. Just excuse the rattling in the background, that's my tomato sauce going for it. I didn't realise before, but this relish that I'm doing, it actually requires me to grate the cucumbers and the onions and leave them in the colander overnight. I guess it's to drain a lot of the liquid out of it, so that's what I'm going to do now. I just wanted to say that if you wanted any extra information about canning. There's loads of Facebook groups that I get all of my information from, really. But if you've got any questions, then please leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you want the recipe for this relish that I'm doing, again, I'm quite happy to send you the link through the YouTube comments. So yeah, just leave a message. It's these 7 cucumbers that I'm going to give a quick rinse because they're a bit dusty, and 5 large onions. Got my colander in a bowl, which I'm going to have to mix with 2 teaspoons or tablespoons of salt, I can't remember, and then my trusty old grater. I'm sure that a lot of you are thinking, oh my god, how are you going to grate 5 onions? How much crying is going to be going on? And I've got a top tip about it, and that is wear contact lenses. And I'm the only person in the house that wears contact lenses, and I'm the only person in the house that does not get affected one tiny little bit when cutting up onions. So I'm actually not bothered at all about doing all 5. Bit of a brag there. So that was a bit more difficult than what I had expected it to be. It's kind of exhausting grating that much stuff. But there we have it, all mixed in with the 2 tablespoons of salt as requested. It's important that when you're doing any canning to use a salt that doesn't have any anti-caking agents in it. It's just an important factor to consider when you're canning. I'm going to keep an eye on this because even though it's only been sat here as I've been grating, as you can see, it's already created a lot of liquid. So over the course of this evening, I'm going to keep checking it and keep getting rid of that liquid. I don't really want it to be sat in it. And also my jars of tomato sauce done. So you can just about make out that this dimple here has gone in. There's this one, and also this one, which means that they're sealed. However, this one, I can't have put the lid on tight enough, or it must have been a dodgy jar, or I don't know what. So that one hasn't sealed, and that one hasn't sealed, and water's clearly got in it. You can see how it's a lot more full now than the rest of them where the liquid's got in. So that's a shame, but it's not a waste. I can still use it. I'll probably use it for dinner tonight, actually, to be fair. But yeah, so that's one success. That's another work in progress. And I'm just considering whether or not I can be bothered to stand in a hot kitchen any longer to do some cucumber pickles. I'm going to have a look at the recipe, see how difficult it is. So here we go. So my next job is to get my basil and my parsley ready to dehydrate. So here's my parsley. I'm going to take all of the leaves off and give it a good wash, and the same with the basil. I'm going to get all of the leaves off and give it all a good wash, and then lay it out on my dehydrated trays. So that's it. I've got 5 trays of barsley. I've got to stop saying that. 5 trays of basil and 5 trays of parsley that are now going to go in the dehydrator. I'm going to do it at 50 degrees for about 10 hours, but I'm doing this on the solar during the daytime, so I think I've got about another 5 hours of sunlight left today, another 5 hours left tomorrow, and then we will come back and waz them up into little bits. So it's the next day, and these have probably been on for about 8 hours, I would say. And I've just come in to check, and the parsley is done. Just going to focus. So I know that because if you can hear, it's super crunchy and it's kind of falling to pieces. But the basil, who's proud of me for saying parsley and basil properly, isn't quite. It's still pliable, it's still soft. You can see that it's starting to go a bit brown, but that doesn't matter. This one's almost dry. It is a bit crunchy, but they're not all. So the basil's going to stay in for a little bit longer. Yeah, look, still green, still pliable. That one's a bit crunchier. So yeah, I reckon about another 2 hours or so. But these ones, yeah, that's all done now. So I'm going to get them out. I'm going to get them wazzed up. So here's my trays of dried parsley. This is like a chopper that I picked up at Lidl for about €10, I think. It's pretty cool, actually. It works really well. It's just blade in there, and then once it's whizzed all up, I've got a nice clean jar. So off we go. And there's a random bit of parsley just got stuck, but I can't film with one hand. Letty, come and hold my phone for me.
Okay.
Oh no, there we go, it fell in. There's also a bit that I noticed that never made its way in anyway. But yeah, pretty much that's about as fine as I want it. I'm just going to make sure that them two little bits are just chopped up, and then we're done. Zane's about to talk.
He is. I just had to say that.
So that's it, they're both done. The parsley and the basil, they're dried, dehydrated, dried, wazzled up, chopped up in tiny little pieces and in jars. These will be shelf stable now for pretty much forever. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So I finished with my dehydrating, so now I'm going to go back to the relish, which my cucumber and my onion has now been in the fridge overnight in the sieve, in the colander. And I was amazed at how much liquid kept coming out of it. So every couple of hours I was going to it and draining the liquid off. Yeah, it was amazing. So if I show you now how much it's gone down. So yeah, there's loads less and it's proper thickened up and it smells lovely. So my next job now is to make the relish. So I've got 3 cups of white vinegar. I'm just using white wine vinegar, a cup of water, 3 cups of sugar, half a cup of plain flour, a teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of ginger and a tablespoon of turmeric. So I'm going to have to mix them all up, warm them all up in a big saucepan for about 10 minutes until it's thickened, and then I'm going to add the cucumber and the onion to it for another 10 minutes. And I'm having to get my big canner out today, because I'm having to use my smaller saucepan for mixing. So in there, I don't want to lift that off because it's quite hot. I'm sterilising I think I've got 9 jars in there. I like to keep it nice and full. And then I'm about to pour boiling water over my lids to also sterilise that. I will come back to you when I'm starting to fill up the cans, jars, whatever. So it's the same process as yesterday. I'm going to water bathe these, so the water is more than an inch above the jars. The one with the question mark on it is my tomato one that didn't seal. So I've stuck a question mark on it, and if it doesn't seal again this time, I know that it's something wrong with the lid. But there's no damage to it, there's no rust on it, it seems fine. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm going to get this water up to boiling and then leave it for 15 minutes. And then that'll be it. They'll be shelf stable and done. Apologies for the quality of this video. We're in our cold storage room and there's no natural lighting in here, so it's a bit dark and dingy. But I was just going to show you some of the cans that you've just watched me processing. And they're all sat behind me here. So I'm just going to flip you around and show you as best as I can. So here, these are all of the cans of chicken stock that we did with the carcasses that are left from when we processed the chickens. And then I also did some with chickpeas in the chicken stock ready for making curries. And then I also did the chicken that we took off of the bones, and then also did them with some chickpeas, and we'll just use them for curries and things like that. And then here's some of the patatas that I did. They're the ones that I did with the garlic and the basil that I've put in there. We actually have tried one of them, and it's not particularly garlicky or basil-y, so I don't know if that's because it's not sat for very long and sort of infused the flavours, or whether I didn't put enough in, not sure, but we've got plenty of time, so I'll have a look. Down here, this is a bit of an experiment. We absolutely love grated tomatoes on toast. Very typical Spanish thing. So I've got a bit of an experiment with some chopped tomatoes that I either roasted them or I did them raw, that we're going to have a test. And then here are some different pickles that I've tried. In this one there's some cayenne peppers as well out of the garden. These are all from our cucumbers. Because I tried different recipes, I've actually stuck a little sticker on them all so that I know what I did when it comes to knowing what our favourites were next year. Yeah, here's another pickle. And then these are the bread and butter pickles that I did. Again, not tried them yet. They need to be left for a month or two before you try them. That's like a sweet kind of pickle. But our absolute favourite is this cucumber relish, and that's the one that you just watched me process. Took quite a long time. I might have said in the video that my contact lenses are my superpower, and that was a total lie. In the end, I ended up having to put some swimming goggles on because it just, yeah, it was pretty horrific. The upstairs of our house was horrible for about, I don't know, 2 hours. But yeah, we've had this with cheese, and we've also had it on a hamburger, and it was incredible. So I've got another batch of that ready to go. And last but not least that I want to show you that wasn't in the video, this cucumber weighs about 300 grams, and we decided to dehydrate 10 of them for making things like tzatziki over the winter. And this is what 10 cucumbers looks like. And this whole jar is 140 grams, meaning that 300 gram cucumber, once dehydrated, weighs 14 grams. So yeah, I think that we've had a really, really successful couple of weeks of canning, and I've got at least another 6 weeks of it left to go. So if you've enjoyed watching me making these things for preserving and you'd like to see more, just let us know in the comments. Thanks.